What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cap Show. What a weekend for college football. It was amazing. Look, first and foremost, my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they did lose. I told you guys if I put $1 million on the Ohio State Notre Dame game, I would have definitely went Ohio State. I just think Notre Dame, they did come out and play well. They were up at half 10-7. I just think they got beat in the fourth quarter, and I think the reason why Notre Dame lost against Ohio State was because of their offense. I mean, no disrespect to Tyler Buckner, the quarterback. He came to play, had some good runs, but I just think in the past 10 to 15 years, Notre Dame has not had a consistent quarterback to throw the ball down the field, and we saw against Ohio State, Notre Dame did not throw the ball down the field a lot. They didn't. Yes, they had some good passes to Meyer. That's about it, though. And Meyer, one play, it looked like he could have ran all the way down to the other 20, but he fumbled the ball, ended up getting the ball back. It was just for Notre Dame offensively, it was a disaster. I mean, only 10 points, that's it, dude. If I were to say, hey, Ohio State's only going to score 21 points, I would say, hey, Notre Dame's going to upset this game. They're going to win this game 24-21, but it just didn't go that way. And I just think the offense, they need to continue to grow. And Coach Marcus Freeman, he had the defensive plan ready. I mean, only giving up Ohio State 7 points in the first half, I think it all the way to until the fourth quarter. It was just like, what else does Notre Dame defense need to do against the number 2 team in the country? Ohio State, arguably, maybe the most talented team in the country next to Alabama. It was just like Notre Dame, they came to play. They just came up short. They lost the fourth quarter. And I just think moving forward, what's next for Notre Dame is they got to win out. They got to win out to get in the college football playoff. I just think quarterback Tyler Buckner, I think he needs to get better reading coverages, throwing the ball down the field. That's what Notre Dame needs to do. I mean, they were shut down, and yes, Notre Dame defensively, they were on the field most of the game, dude. It was just like, yes, they got burned a couple plays, but that's kind of expected when you're playing the whole game basically on defense. It's like, dude, we got to give our defense a break. Only 10 points, that's not enough. Hats off to Ohio State. C.J. Stroud had a quiet game. Same thing with Henderson. He had a quiet game for the Ohio State Buckeyes. It was just one of the things where, hey, this is the first game of the season. Let's ease back into the season. But for Notre Dame, they played well. They really did. They competed against the top team in the country. That's the thing. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame is here to win championships. And I think Coach Marcus Freeman, this is the new era right now. And I think defensively, we don't need to worry about Notre Dame defense. It's all offense here. We got to get our receivers active. We got to get open. We got to throw the ball down the field. That's how you win a national championship, because if you can't throw the ball down the field like Notre Dame did against Ohio State, you're not going to win any big games, really. You got to develop that, and I think Tyler Buckner, through time, will develop that. Hats off to Ohio State. They got the dub. But the biggest surprise to me all weekend was Indiana football beating Illinois. And I just think Indiana showed resiliency. They battled back. And what kept Indiana in this game was their defense. Their defense came to play. And let me tell you, that's the reason why they won this game. And they scored the last drive of the game. It was awesome for IU fans across the country. It's just like Indiana football needed to win that game against Illinois. They got a tough schedule coming up, but their defense is great. Similar to Notre Dame's offense, is like they don't really throw the ball much down the field. You got to throw the ball down the field if you're Indiana football. So big win by Indiana football. Then a big surprise to me was Oregon versus Georgia. I thought this game would be way much closer than what it was. Georgia blew him out, dude. Just destroyed him. They really did. And I think Georgia right now, they're probably the number 2, number 3 team in the country. Them, Ohio State, and Alabama. Those 3 teams right there are the top 3 teams in the country. And Georgia proved it this game. It was just it was over at halftime. It was just like Oregon did not come to play. And that's not the style Oregon that I'm used to seeing. Oregon, I'm used to seeing spread it out. Let's get first downs after first down. Let's hurry up offense. It was completely different for me. Completely different look. Oregon did not look like the old school Oregon team back in the early 2010s. 11 time around there, but Oregon, they got a big ground to cover, but big win by the Georgia Bulldogs. What a time. And not to mention Alabama, they played another no-name school, Utah State. No disrespect to Utah State, but we're talking about Alabama here. The number 1 team in the country, yet they still get cupcake games, dude, year in and year out. And it's always it's like the first month of Alabama's schedules, it's a cupcake. It's all cupcake teams we never really heard of. So if I'm the NCAA football, I'm saying, hey, let's schedule told Alabama hard teams in the first month instead of cupcake teams. It's just like this every single year. Their first game, their opener's always a cupcake team game, dude. It's just like, but hey, Alabama, they've won it, dude. They covered the spread. 41.5 was the over-under, which is crazy to me, right? What a time. I mean, big win by Alabama. But Utah versus Florida, I went Utah. This was kind of a suck pick for me. Yes, Florida Gators did get the dub. They won only by 3. This was a close game. I just think Utah, they just got outplayed a couple possessions. And that's really all it takes here in college football is a couple possessions, a couple plays, and that changes the whole dynamic of the game. It's a little bit different than the NFL, to whereas the NFL, you could come down and score in like 20 seconds if you want to. Here in the college football, 2 minutes is like, hey, like, let's take our time, let's hurry up. But I just think it's a little bit different flow. But big win by the Florida Gators. I thought Utah was going to come away with the victory here, a close one. I didn't think it was going to be that close to what it was. I thought Utah would win by 7 or 8 points, somewhere in that realm. But, dude, give it off to Florida Gators at home against Utah. You had to win this game. Because if you're Florida Gators and you guys lose this game and blow it, that's it, dude. Like, your chances of making the college football playoff, that's it, dude. It's over for you. There is no coming back from that or winning out. No, it's not that. It's win or go home, and that's what it was. So, big win by them. Then we had Central Michigan, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State handled business. Gave up 44 points, though. It was 44-58. That was a crazy game. Big win by Oklahoma State. Pittsburgh beat West Virginia in really a shootout game. I think this was one of the best games all weekend long here. And I just think for Pittsburgh, man, they played the way they needed to play to make big plays down the stretch. And we saw, I think it was a West Virginia player just mess up one play where it was just a boneheaded play overall. I think it was their quarterback. I'm not sure what was going on that play, but I just think for Pittsburgh, they came to play here. And let me tell you, dude, Pittsburgh, they are definitely a low-key dark horse team to maybe even win out. I know it's a long shot right now. It's the first week of college football, but I'm telling you right now, Pittsburgh, they proved to me that they can play, and what a win. And then Texas A&M, I had them over Sam Houston, which they did 31-0, a big win by them. And then we had Colorado State versus Michigan. I told you guys to go heavy on Michigan. I just think for Michigan now, it's just like, hey, what happens if you guys do win out? If you guys do make the college football playoff yet again this year, we remember what happened this past year against Georgia. You guys lost literally in the first half. It was a disaster. I just think Michigan, it's kind of a similar team to me. It really is. It's kind of similar. It's just like, I mean, yes, they're a good running team. They can stop the run, but I just think overall Michigan Wolverines this year, nothing really stuck out to me yet in week 1. It wasn't like, oh, they're going to go to the national championship game. They're going to go to the playoffs yet again, back-to-back years. I don't think so. I think what I've seen is Ohio State is clearly the better team than Michigan right now. But, good win by Michigan. What a way to start the season. And then we had Oklahoma versus UTEP. Oklahoma all day here. This was an easy pick for me. I just think Oklahoma, yes, they had some transfers go out of there, which, hey, that's just how it goes. If you're in a top 5 school in the nation like Oklahoma, you're going to have a lot of transfers. A lot of people wanting to leave and come into Oklahoma. I just think this was another cupcake team for Oklahoma as well. I mean, we look at the top 10 big powerhouse colleges in college football. It's just like they normally play cupcake schools here. Oklahoma, Alabama, another cupcake school. It was just like, man, But the disappointing game all weekend was definitely me picking Cincinnati over Arkansas. Arkansas got the job done. They only won by a touchdown. I just think for me, I kind of went with Cincinnati because all the hype they generated the past couple years, but it was dumb for me because they had KJ Jefferson back. He played last year at quarterback. He balled out with 3 touchdowns, 223 yards. I just think that was it, dude, and I think that I should have went with them. That was a dumb pick by me, but that was probably the stupidest pick all weekend, but Arkansas got it done. They beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati era, I think, is coming to an end of that Cinderella story unless they get great recruits, but, big win by Arkansas all around. And then we had Florida State versus LSU. Florida State with the big win, winning by 1 point. The LSU mixed the extra point at the end of the fourth quarter. I just think for Coach Kelly, Brian Kelly, yes, he's an ex-Notre Dame head coach. I'm hearing all different types of speculations. He's not a good coach. He's not this. we have to look at the facts here. Brian Kelly is a good coach, okay? He has the most wins at Notre Dame history without a national championship. He is a good coach. I just think Coach Kelly, he's more around himself. It's kind of self-centered. It's all about me. I'm the coach. I'm the one. Me. Instead of, kind of like a Marcus Freeman coming in where it's like, hey, I want to have a relationship with all the players. I want to be a brother to all the players. I want to be a role model to all the players. I want to have relationships with these guys off the field. And I think Coach Kelly's not that type of coach. It's one of them things where he's going to show up, he's going to coach, he's going to do his own thing, and that's it. And I just think for LSU fans right now, the reality's sinking in to where, hey, we saw some glimpses of some Notre Dame in Coach Kelly as well. Maybe he should have went for two. Yes, I think, overall, going for one right there, going for the overtime game, that was not a bad call. I just think if you're playing to win the games, playing for a national championship here, why not go for two there? It's easier to say for me, right, once he does miss the extra point. I just think overall, Coach Kelly did not have a great coaching game against Florida State. I think they came out flat. I think the first half, LSU kind of was scared a little bit, was on their heels, was just like, oh, man, like, what do I do? What type of coverages am I in? I just think for Coach Kelly, the reality's setting in, and I do think he's going to regret leaving Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame right now, what they have going for him, Coach Marcus Smart, all the defensive-minded coaches they have there, I think it's going to help Notre Dame in a way. I think it's a blessing in disguise. When I first heard Brian Kelly was leaving Notre Dame, I thought, oh, that's it for Notre Dame. It's over. No, I think there's new hope there. I just think for LSU fans across the country is, hey, the reality's setting in for you guys that, hey, it's going to be a long season this year. I don't think LSU's going to make the playoffs this year whatsoever. It would just be so ironic if Ohio State wins out, Notre Dame happens to get in the 4th seed, and LSU's out. It's just going to be like, look at Coach Kelly now, look at Notre Dame, we're still in the playoffs, you're not. That'd be great, right? That'd be amazing way to end the season, but I just think it's a long season right now. It's so much football to play. We had Clemson play last night. They beat Georgia Tech soundedly. They played well. I just think overall, clearly the best teams in the country are Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Those are the best teams right now, and I think they're the most talented teams. Is it fair? Is the recruiting class fair? No. Life isn't fair. That's just how it goes. I just think looking at the bigger picture, especially for my Notre Dame Fighting Irishes, they know what they have to do. They have to win out in spectacular fashion. They have to have their offense develop better passing plays down the stretch, throw the ball down the field, and I think that's what they lacked against Ohio State. I think that was the biggest game all weekend, no doubt about it. I just think looking at the bigger picture, it's like you have to win these type of games. The games that you're not supposed to win, you need to win those games. Notre Dame came up short. I'm not mad about it, though. I expected Notre Dame to lose this game. So did everybody else. I mean, originally Ohio State came into this game 17-point favorites, dude. That was crazy to me. 17, dude. That is just insane to me. Notre Dame came out to play, but hey, what a college football weekend. I think the best game I saw all week was definitely an IU-Illinois game. That was just a back-to-back game. It was awesome. The Cincy game was great as well. And the Florida Gators, Utah was great. But looking at the Ohio State Notre Dame, it was just like Notre Dame came to play. They really did. I think Coach Marcus Freeman, he's coming to coach this program. He's going to bring it to new heights. I believe that he's going to get better players, better institution, better leadership in the program. So I cannot wait to see what Notre Dame holds in the future. But like I said, the top 3 teams definitely right now by landslide: Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. It's the Clown with Cab Show. Week 1 was amazing. Let's go!